Hey Frank, hope you're doing well. Hey, just curious. It's being 1-8. Are you considering any changes to the starting lineup or to the coaching staff at this point in the season?
Um, as a head coach, right? I mean, I'm responsible for looking at how do we make things better. So, I'm not looking at any staff changes at this point. I can tell you that. Um, we are always look for what can we do to get better. It's always, it's never just one factor. It's many factors or several factors usually. So, and the way to go about that is, each person own up to their responsibility, and so that's the way we'll approach it, kind of position by position, coach by coach, one-on-one, and as group dynamics as necessary, and keep fighting.
Hey Frank, I wonder if you could address after you've watched film now, what specifically went wrong offensively last night? And I do have a follow-up.
Yeah. Um, After watching the tape, I just think there were instances where, we're just a click off here or a click off there. Not one player. I do think if I were evaluating, Bryce's play, I thought there were many good plays he made. I thought at times, looked good, made some big time plays. Um, I just think we were, from an execution standpoint, just a tad off on a few key places, on a few key plays. And, to the outside eye, it looks bad and it is bad. As we look at it, um, you understand because you've been through things like this before, that clean a couple things up and that can turn that game around. A couple plays can turn that game around.
And my follow-up was brief, but I just looking at it, and I'm only watching it on TV last night, but it just doesn't seem like your wide receivers ever get much separation. Would you disagree with that?
Yeah, I think we have enough. I think we're making plays, getting open enough. And listen, there's times they get paid too. There's times where we get covered. But I think when I look at the whole of things, are we are we running in a way and getting open enough in a way to execute and make plays? And we are. We just have. It can always be better, of course. It can always be better, but I think we are.
Thank you.
Let's go David Newman, followed by Nick Carboni.
Hey, Coach David Newton here. Want to ask, are you worried about Bryce getting into some bad habits? I mean, and you can comment. It looked like his feet are starting to get a little happy or nervous in the pocket, and maybe that led to some of those off throws.
Yeah, I think when you get to this time of the year, one of the things that we talk about is how important individual period is in our practices and how important it is to continue to work on the fundamentals and technique. That's the very core things. There could be that tendency for any position as the season goes on that you kind of get more play scheme oriented and you don't pay attention to the details of the core fundamentals and technique. So I wouldn't say that Bryce is falling into that mode. I would say this, that he, along with the rest of the players, right, and as coaches, we need to make sure we give ample time and respect to that, make sure that that we don't fall into bad habits. That's a common theme every year around this time of the year. You want to say, hey, we got to double down on that individual period. That period is gold. Stay with the fundamentals and techniques. That's what wins. So that'll continue to be an emphasis for us.
Did you sense that at all too? That maybe that led to some of the off-target throws he had the other night?
No, I think you all see. I think we all see that. Bryce in the pocket. He has a he has a unique way about him. So he's incredibly accurate throwing off platform, and when his feet aren't set, that doesn't mean that we're not trying to operate in good mechanics, because we are, and he does that many times. So yeah, I'm not overly concerned about it. Are we going to make sure that we don't fall into bad habits? Of course.
And when you talked about evaluating and what you could do to strengthen things, do you feel like the offensive line would be an area where you could address some changes?
I just think that, again, it's always the balance of don't overreact, but don't overlook anything. And so no one is exempt, right? It starts with me as the head coach. Everyone gets evaluated. Everyone is held accountable. And we make the decisions that we think give us the best chance to win the most games the rest of the year. So we'll continue to stay along that pattern. We'll double down on this film where we are. If we feel like there's any changes to a lineup that needs to be made, we'll make them. But, you know, we'll still working through some of those things.
Good afternoon, Frank. I wonder what your assessment of the offensive line and pass protection was last night. And it's basically the same group as it was last year. 4 of the 5 guys are out there now, and they had success last year. Is there anything schematically that you're seeing that they're having trouble adjusting to that's different for them this year?
No, no, I would not say there's anything schematically. I would say that there was pressure early on. I thought there was a point in the game. When I look back at the tape, there were many times I saw the pocket was clean, and the pocket was good. We had 3 sacks. That's too many. 3 sacks is too many. Too many pressures. So. You know, you don't want to put yourself, you want to stay out of long yardage situations. That's a big deal. Sometimes the flow of the game factors into all that stuff. So I'm confident in those guys up front. I'm confident that we'll continue to get back on track as far as fewer pressures, fewer sacks.
We'll go Darren Gant, followed by Joe Person.
Frank, when you get to this time of year, thinking about this weekend and the first part of next week as you prepare for Dallas, you know, a lot of questions about this guy versus that guy or changes, or do you get into, or do you allow yourself to think about kind of bigger picture offensive questions about philosophy or how you're doing certain things?
Yes, you always have your hand on both things, you know, kind of big picture and, you know, micro and macro issues. So, you know, that's my job, and Thomas as the coordinator, you know, together we can kind of look at that. And then on the micro level, right, always paying attention to the detail. Position coaches really making sure we carry out the micro details, but then involving them, as it were, in any philosophical discussions. Okay, like there was a discussion today, you know, with the offensive staff. Hey, let's talk about, you know, where we're at right now. Any adjustments, any philosophical adjustments that we need to make. You know, talk about personnel, talk about scheme, you know, because we have this little bit of extra time here this weekend.
So that's something that's already happened today, or will that continue into next week?
Yeah, it happened today already. It happened this morning. And that's all, you know, between Thomas and I, that's always ongoing. You know, we're talking every day about big picture, macro things, and of course, all the micro stuff as well. That's a everyday conversation.
Hey, Frank, to Scott's earlier question, you seemed to indicate that you don't think separation from receivers is an issue. Are there times when Bryce is not seeing open receivers, particularly when you're getting interior pass rush against you?
You know, I think Bryce sees the field incredibly well. Any quarterback will tell you. There's times you don't see everything. You know, you don't see someone. You know, are there 1 or 2 times in the game where, you know, maybe, you know, a guy was open and we didn't see him? Yeah, there's not many of those. You know, when it comes to Bryce, he sees it well, but he's like every other quarterback, even the best, right? I mean, you don't always see everything. So I think if I'm evaluating Bryce's field vision, I give him an A. Do we occasionally miss something? Of course, so does everybody.
Also, Frank, just from a schedule standpoint, did you have guys in today? Were they given a long weekend? How'd you handle that?
Yeah, players are off for the weekend. They had a long weekend, so coaches were in.
We'll go Vasai Hurst, followed by David Newton.
Hi, Coach. after entering the season with so much promise, fans have grown impatient. We saw David Tepper on TV during the telecast looking visibly frustrated. I do know that you have weekly conversations with him. How can you gauge his patience level during this 1-9 start to the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think I haven't spoken with him today, but I do think that he's driven. You know, he's driven to be successful. He's driven to give the Carolinas, you know, a winner, and he wants to do whatever it takes to do that. So I'm excited about that. I understand, you know, that I'm accountable to him first and foremost, more than anybody. So you know, I have to meet those expectations as the head coach. You know, those expectations of, you know, that primarily center around results, but also center around showing that we're heading in the right direction. So we got half the season left to do that. I'm excited for the opportunity for us to do that and continue to make strides. We've been in a bunch of close games, you know, that we've come up short, and, you know, we're going to find a way to win those games as we get down the stretch here.
Just as a follow-up, you've been around the league a while, you've been a head coach. In the thick of things, does job security ever pop up in your mind?
Yes, it's the NFL. I mean, I don't, like most people, I don't walk on pins and needles about it. This is the NFL. You know, we all realize we're on day-to-day contracts. That comes with the great responsibility you get. I enjoy that part of it. I understand the accountability that comes with it. I embrace that, and there's no place I'd rather be than right in the middle of it and be in the battle. Be in the battle. Win, lose, you know, win or lose. You know, take your best shot. Show everybody what you have, and you know, and for most of my life, that's been good enough, and I've had a lot of success in a lot of ways on a lot of fronts. So. But that's all in the past. All that really matters is what's left the next 8 games, and what kind of success are we going to have for 8 games, and starting with this first one here home against Dallas.
Coach David Newton again. I wanted to ask you, we got a glimpse of Mike Strawn and what he could do with that 45-yard catch. Can you tell us about how you guys discovered him? I guess he was with you at Indy. What do you like about him? What could he offer to this offense moving forward?
Was encouraged with the big play that he made. He's a big man, and he's fast. He's got good feet. He's a good route runner, good hands. You know, from the Bahamas, you know, drafted him when I was in Indianapolis, and you know, as a kind of a development, you know, low-round draft pick, developmental player, and really excited about his continued progress. He has some unique skills as far as his size and speed, and you know, certainly flashed, and has been, as I told you guys last week, has looked really good in practice.
So I want to ask you, guys only had 2 touchdowns in 12 quarters since Thomas took over the play calling. Is there any thoughts of you taking that back or making adjustments there?
You know, I mean, obviously as the head coach, as I said earlier, I got to look at everything. I do understand, though, as a longtime play caller myself, that when things aren't going well, it's really, really easy to point the finger at play calling. So I don't want to overreact to that. You know, I'm going to continue to evaluate everything and do what we think is best for the team. But like I said, because of my experience calling it, I understand how much responsibility and how the finger gets pointed when it's usually several factors. I'm not saying it's not important. It is important, and it does factor. But I just don't want to jump to any quick conclusions. But as a head coach, obviously, I'm open to, you know, always doing what I think is best to help us win.
So that's kind of, you'll evaluate that over the weekend then?
Yeah, it would be put in the category of, yes, it would be put in the category of everything, you know. Like I said, just really got through the film and the meetings, so I'll go back and go through that again, and again, sit back from the macro picture and, you know, what we're doing and where we're going and what gives us the best chance, and I'm excited about that.
We have time for one more, so we finish with Scott Fowler.
Frank, I know you went through this last night. I saw your press conference, but in retrospect, after 12 hours to think about it, do you think whether Eddie makes that field goal or not, do you think you should have given Bryce the chance there simply because, maybe you get a signature moment out of it? Maybe you score a big touchdown or whatever, whereas otherwise, at best, you're playing for a tie and maybe overtime.
Yeah, I do feel that. I do feel like in retrospect, I did confirm that the percentages are what they are. I mean, an outdoor 59-yard field goal is in the 40-ish percentiles. A 4th and 10 conversion over the last lot of years is about 27%. So clearly the odds are in favor of kicking the field goal, but give Bryce that moment, in hindsight, and the reason is because there was still time enough left on the clock that even if we get the conversion, we still have time to drive down and score. It's easy to second guess yourself. I wish I'd gone the other way. I considered all the options. I went with the statistical play. Our defense was playing good. If we tied it up, I was feeling good about our chances in overtime. I thought if we make the field goal, we're still winning. I mean, the thought of winning was always first and foremost, not tying. I thought if we kick this field goal and we make it, we're going to win. But we had 3 4th-down conversions that we made. Bryce made some good plays. So I probably wish we had gone for it on 4th and 10, even though it's a low percentage.